Yeah.
Nora?
Yes.
Nora, can I say one more thing? When I was out at the George Floyd Park today, you know, as I said, I talked to many people out there, and they said it's going to be one of two things. It's going to be a celebration when this verdict comes in, or it's going to be a re-mourning. And I think they're very glad right now that they don't have a re-mourning. And George Floyd Square, we should say, is the area where George Floyd was killed. That area has been closed down. No one, you can't drive through there. It's become a memorial. It actually is a very sacred space. I got very choked up when I was there today, and you could see the part as you're looking at it now. You could see the part where George Floyd lost his life. And I said to several of the people who are running this by volunteers, when do you think that this street will be open? When will you take this down? And she said, when we get justice. And I said, what does justice look like? And she said, conviction on all 3 counts. And I left there today saying, yeah, but that's not going to happen. I mean, that just seemed so unlikely. And less than 2 hours later, she is now seeing conviction on all 3 counts. I can't imagine what they're feeling out there at this moment. Well, actually, yes, I can imagine how they're feeling out there at this moment. I take that back. I take that back. And you can hear it now. The horns are honking here, right behind us in downtown Minneapolis.
I think a sense of relief, but also a sense this never should have happened. You know, I was there as well, Gail, out in June of last year, and many people asked me to describe it, and I said, you know, that the crowd that came to memorialize George Floyd was multi-generational. It was multiracial. It was people of everyone was disturbed. The protests that were launched across America also were multi-generational, largely youth, but of course many people disturbed across this nation about what had happened to George Floyd, and has felt the need to march in protest about police brutality in this case. And Gail, you brought up, and I think Ibram brought this up as well, that the testimony of the pulmonologist, Dr. Tobin, and so I just went back and checked. He testified that Chauvin's knee stayed on Floyd's neck for 3 minutes and 27 seconds after Floyd took his last breath. That was so, and we all remember that, just like, and you heard the crowd chanting, stop, stop. And I think that must have weighed so heavily, certainly with viewers, but also the jury there, that this was excessive and intentional. And now they have found him guilty on all 3 charges. And we can hear the celebration there in Minneapolis by many people cheering the jury for this verdict.
Nora, you know what else I thought was interesting about Dr. Tobin's testimony, which, by the way, you know, he was not a paid expert witness. You know, he is somebody who has written a book on this topic about breathing and respiration. So he is considered one of the premier experts in this field. He said that he felt that he had something to contribute to this case. But one of the things he said that stood out to me was, he said the pressure that was exerted on George Floyd that day was like having one of your lungs removed surgically. Just think about that for a second. It showed how George Floyd was literally gasping for his life with his knuckles, trying to touch the tire of the police car to try to do anything to get that last gasp of air that, unfortunately, as we know, never came. It was extraordinary.
Extraordinary, and as the tapes and video itself showed, he said, I can't breathe 25 times. We should bring in Jeff Pegues, who is talking to people in the crowd. And Jeff, tell us what you're hearing.
Well, these 2 ladies in kindly here at the government center here of Hennepin County, they were here when the crowd roared. When you heard the verdict, what did you think? You're a local activist here. What did you think about the verdict?
I felt relieved. I felt relieved that he was found guilty on all 3 counts. And now I'm ready for all the rest of the police that have murdered black men and women to be found guilty on all charges of murder.
But did you have doubts that you would see this day, even though you, like the rest of the world, saw that videotape?
Yes. I didn't have doubts that he was guilty. I had doubts in terms of white supremacy, and white supremacy saying that no matter if you're white, you can get away with murder as long as it's a person that is black. never been treated like citizens. We've always been treated like slaves. And some say that we've been treated like second-class citizens. But for the most part, citizens has not been part of the equation when it comes to black people. And in Minneapolis, as I have a long history in terms of dealing with the police in Minneapolis, and the police in Minneapolis 15 years ago jumped on my son, and now we fast forward to 2021, and you take a person like me and we say, oh, I'm relieved that they didn't kill my son, they just beat him. We shouldn't have to do that. That's not what you do to citizens. And so what we're looking for is taking it to the next level, and the next level in terms of getting our freedom. And what does freedom look like for black people? Freedom looks like our right to vote. Freedom looks like our right to assemble without being shot at.
Thank you very much for your time. The crowd is taking to the streets here, and I wanted to ask you too. You were here to hear the verdict read aloud. You heard people here in this grassy knoll area outside the government center celebrating. Are you celebrating right now too?
Well, I need to follow my black leaders, my black women leaders who say take a moment, celebrate this time, and then we got to get back in that fight. And as TT said, there's justice for everyone who's been murdered. So we need to take the celebration. It should have been obvious. We weren't sure. And the fight is just beginning.
Well, thank you very much for your time. I'm sure you want to join the crowd that have now peacefully formed in the streets here. Just a sampling of the sentiment here after this verdict.
Jeff Pegues with those powerful interviews. Jeff, thank you. And just want to read for people that apparently at George Floyd Square, the memorial where Floyd was killed, a woman nearly collapsed in tears hearing the verdict. And when she straightened up, she said, "We matter. We matter." That, according to the New York Times, reporting that the powerful reaction not only in Minneapolis but across the country. As we show you these pictures there in Minneapolis, that sense of relief that was described, and yet a sense that there is still a lot more justice that needs to take place. And as we continue to watch these pictures, let's bring in CBS News legal analyst Ricky Kleeman. And Ricky, the sense of relief for so many as Derrick Chauvin guilty on all three counts. I want to ask you now about sentencing. When does the judge decide how long Chauvin will spend in jail?